with a lorry load of bricks. While he escaped unharmed, he was probably still bricking it. Much like the people in this car. Fortunately, everyone escaped unscathed. That ton of bricks came down on them like, well, a ton of bricks. If big heavy loads are bad, long pointy ones may be even worse. The driver of this car had to dodge dozens of bamboo sticks that pierced his vehicle. For a while he was trapped, but was freed a short time later with only minor scrapes. And here, this driver seems to forget that there are two ends to his poles. The cyclist he nearly took out gave him a load of stick for his actions. But it's not always goods that people overload their vehicles with. Sometimes it's more people. Do not try this on. 5 parking fails from around the world and find out what happens to this driver who's obeying all the rules of the road. In China, this white car drove through a red light at speed. In a moment of instant karma, the driver then smashed into a lamppost. Fortunately, neither driver was seriously hurt. In China, it was briefly made illegal to pass through traffic lights on amber. The punishment was as severe as going through on red. Watching this clip, it's no real surprise why. This truck trying to sneak through causes the one in the neighboring lane to topple over. We all know it can be boring waiting at the lights, especially if cars seem to be moving through quicker than you. But honestly, it's safer to wait. Here in Canada, it's not clear if the four-wheel drive or the car turning left has jumped the red light. But one of the drivers will definitely have been left red-faced. Of course, sometimes traffic will stop you from going through on red. In America, this truck crashed into 2 cars as they stopped at the lights. It's not clear if his brakes had failed or if he was just impatient. Some people try to blame traffic lights for their own bad driving. In Washington, D.C., the driver filming waits patiently for the lights to turn green. Pulls out, and the car he hit made an illegal turn, and the driver tried to argue that the man filming had run a red. Fortunately, the dashcam footage proved he hadn't, and the other driver had to foot the bill. Here, you're about to see the lights change from green to amber, and just as they turn red, the oncoming car decides to keep going. He was much keener to stop after the crash. There shouldn't be anything confusing about stopping at red lights, but some drivers just don't bother. Here in Kansas, you can see the white car is going through on green. The red one isn't. Neither driver was seriously hurt. And here in Limassol, southern Cyprus, a drunk driver literally drove through the traffic lights. Fortunately, she wasn't hurt. As it's a crime, you'd think police would always challenge drivers who don't stop at the lights. Well, think again. Here in Ukraine, they just don't seem that bothered. A billion cars on the world's roads, finding a parking space can be tricky. And for everyone who makes a success of it, like this car parked in a very creative way, there's someone who finds parking a complete nightmare. So here are our top 5 parking fails. At number 5, in New Zealand, one driver seems to struggle with parallel parking. Despite having a good few goes at it. Eventually he gives up and switches seats with his passenger, who gets it done in a jiffy.
Absolutely smashed it.
Number 4 is a similar problem. This motorist had already been trying to park for some time before the cameras started rolling. After trying for some time more, he simply drives away, teaching us all that if at first you don't succeed, give up. At 3, this woman in China is stuck in a tight spot. Let's hope she didn't hit any of the cars parked near her. After 9 bumps and a 5-point turn, she made it out of the car park. Number 2 is what slightly overdoing it looks like. Just ease it into the space, a bit more, too much. Good luck getting out of that spot. Ah yes, a crane will do it. And our number 1 parking fail. If someone's in your spot, just move them. The driver barely seemed to notice. He just casually gets out of his car and presumably goes in search of the pay and display machine. Coming up, Romanians rolling in cars